So if you've been pitching to VCs, you understand one thing. They are absolutely not interested in ideas that don't have a lot of scale, that can't be worth $1 billion. They are not interested in investing in a tool that only has 200 users or can get to maybe only 500 users. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what are the 5 ways to find out if your idea is worth $1 billion. Ready? Here goes. Now, there's this old saying in Silicon Valley, right? If you want to disrupt something, you got to disrupt a business that uses a fax machine. What they're essentially saying is, if there's some business that uses a fax machine, they probably do things in a very old way. So you have an opportunity to come in and do things in a new way. When you do things in a new way, you are creating disruption and competition for that business. I'll give you the best example of insurance. I use an insurance provider right now that is crappy, right? You can't send your insurance forms online. You got to actually physically go to them, which is, a waste of time, and you've got to go to them. You can't send somebody to go to them. You got to sign documents at their place. It's a very manual process. You got to fill like a 4-page form. It's really annoying. So one thing I noticed in their office while I was going out was that there was a fax machine. Now, obviously, this doesn't mean that all such businesses have fax machines. Tomorrow, if a new insurance business comes out and allows you to do your claims online, makes it easier for you, basically frictionless for you, then they will win. Customers will gravitate because they'll realize, I hate my current provider. They're putting me through hell. This new provider is giving me convenience. And there's a big overlap between the businesses who make people come physically and sign forms and the fact that they have fax machines. The same thing's happening to banks right now. Banks are being disrupted by what I call digital banks or neobanks, where you can start an account online and you can do your entire banking process online. You never have to visit a bank branch or speak to a manager, which is really cool. Now there's an alternate to this. The alternate is to try and build a business on a completely new platform. When mobile phones came out, there were absolutely no businesses, whether it be businesses that own faxes or not, there were no businesses that were actually tackling the mobile platform. So all the new guys who came out and created a mobile first app, it could be for very simple things. It could be for note taking, it could be games. Even though there were existing players who were doing note taking on the PC, transforming into a mobile first organization was challenging for them. And they got beaten by completely new players. So whenever there's a new platform, there are bound to be new players doing innovative things that the old players simply can't catch up to. An example now is VR and AR. VR and AR is so new that if you create an app, you can actually beat the older players because the older players are still doing R&D and nobody there is really motivated enough to start a new business. If they are, they just leave and start by themselves because the cost of starting a new business in AR and VR is very low. So large businesses are built on the backs of new regulation on new platforms. So crypto and Web3 in specific is only like 5 or 6 years old. And that is new, by the way. In old company years, 6 years means 1 year. It's very, very new. It's risky for them to enter. So they're still doing R&D. That's so much opportunity for a new player to come and build a massive business. The next thing is to figure out, will you get enough scale? Suppose you built an app for VR tomorrow and say you charge $50 for the app. Now you need to do the math. Can I get enough people paying $50 to get to $100 million in revenue? The reason I say $100 million in revenue, because valuations, except for some types of businesses, valuations are usually taken at a 10x multiple. If you're a services business, the multiple is much lower, but I'm talking about product businesses. If you're a product business and you don't need too many people to run it, you're not throwing humans at the problem like, say, an agency, then you take your yearly revenues, multiply it by 10, and that is your valuation. So find out how you can get to $100 million in revenue. Now multiples are even better, but let's go the standard route and say $100 million into 10, which is $1 billion. How do you get to $100 million in revenue? Can you charge $50 to this many number of customers, $100 to this many number of customers, or can you charge $100,000 to this many customers? Obviously, the more the pricing, the lesser the number of customers you need to hit your targets. I would also suggest you avoid Facebook-style businesses where you don't even worry about revenue, you're just worried about growth, and maybe tomorrow you'll run ads. Very few of them succeed. In fact, they all have such a small life cycle. Facebook now is almost dead, right? So Facebook, Instagram, maybe TikTok, very, very few advertising-based businesses. You can count them on your hands because they're popular, the rest die. So unless you become number one popular in your segment, you are probably going to be dead. Now you've done this pricing math. People pay this much or that much. Now the question is, will people really pay? Is it a must-have for them, or is it just something that's nice to have, which they might use when it's free, but not use when it costs money? So getting people to pay is a pain in itself. In fact, in India, getting people to pay for something, especially software, is challenging. That's why a lot of software-based businesses start selling to the US, because they actually value their time. In India, people would rather conserve money and spend their own time instead of spending $50 or $100. Now, if you've checked all these boxes so far, right, then you're probably going to have competition. Can you reach this $100 million a year target before the others? See, competition is a good sign. And I'm talking about VCs. So VCs do not invest in companies that have zero competition. And even if they invest in a company with zero competition, they know competition is around the corner. So you are going to have competition. If you want to get to those numbers and become a monopoly, which means corner the market, prevent anybody else from coming in, become number one, then can you get there first? How much money do you need to get there first? So usually these billion-dollar businesses are races. Two companies racing to get to a billion-dollar business. Maybe both will coexist later. But beyond 2 or 3 players, market doesn't exist. Look at food delivery in India. You got Swiggy, which is big. You got Zomato, which is big. And all the rest failed. Tiny Owl doesn't exist anymore. Tapzo doesn't exist anymore. Right? So there are many other players, all racing, but only 1 or 2 competitors end up winning. I'd also like to add here that you should be a little bit scared if there are no other competitors. It means people don't pay for this thing. Or you are so new and innovative that it's a gamble for anybody investing. So in India, how it usually goes is people figure out, and even VCs figure out, has this been done in the US? Can we build an Indian style clone of it? Because if it's proven in the US, it's proven here. And I can tell you this also works with content, right? If some piece of content works on Instagram, I'm very sure it'll work on YouTube. I'm telling you from experience, right? And I've done a lot of these cross content here and then content there. So look for evidence that somebody else has done it in some form or the other somewhere else and see if you can do it here. And it's not really cloning. You're basically getting to parity and then you add innovative features. Because when founders have built something that people want, replicating that process again is very, very difficult. So might as well take from their learnings and build something similar. And finally, all top VCs know this. Markets are more important than business ideas or founders. A good and large market is forgiving to the best and the worst of founders. But if you're in a bad market, even the best founders will find it hard to scale. Right? If you're in a market where there are only like 30 people who can buy your product and you have math of, I need to hit 10,000 clients, it's not going to work. You get all the 30 and then what? You're stuck. So that's the point, right? Find a large market because a large market is what will decide whether you can build a billion-dollar business or not. That's it for this video. If you liked it, make sure you hit the subscribe button and also hit the bell.